Alright guys, so today we're going to take a quick overview on how to use these nutrition templates. So as you can see, I have my personalized nutrition template plan here open and my food list open. And these are two documents that you should receive when you receive your email from us with all of your information. So let's take a look at our personalized nutrition plan first. After the cover page, we go into our calories and macronutrients. As you can see, it's broken up into two different days, a rest day or a training day. Training day is any day you guys come to CrossFit. A rest day is every other day. So even cardio counts as a rest day. So if you go for a run or on the bike or go do yoga, it still counts as a rest day. Only use a training day when you guys come here and do CrossFit. So as you can see, it lists my calories, my protein, and my carbohydrates for each day. You'll notice that on this plan, my calories are the same for a rest day and a training day, and that's on purpose. Don't be alarmed by that. We didn't mess up. That is on purpose. So as you can see, it lists all the protein, carbohydrates, and fats. These are my overall goals for the day, guys. So on any given rest day or any given training day, I should be trying to hit 2,315 calories. My protein stays the same. Again, doesn't depend on whatever day it is. So I'm trying to hit on 165 grams of protein. My carbohydrates do change. As you can see, on a rest day, I consume about half the amount of carbohydrates I do on a training day. So I've got 83 on my rest day and then 165 on my training day. To make up the rest of my calories, I make it up in fat. So since I have less carbohydrates on a rest day, I consume more fat, 147 grams. On a training day, I consume 111 grams. Now, this is all well and good, and you can log all your food and try to figure it out on your own, or you can use the templates that we've created for you guys. So this is my rest day template. As you can see, it's broken down into meals. So meal one, which is upon waking, right? I have 4.5 cells of protein, 1 cell of veggies. I get no carbs, womp womp, and 1.5 cells of fat. Going throughout the day, right, I get 5 meals because it's a rest day. It tells me when I should eat my meals, right, 3 to 5 hours later after the first one, 3 to 5 hours later after that, so forth and so on. Last time being my bedtime meal, which is about within 30 minutes of me actually going to sleep. Now, before you guys actually ask what a cell is, let's go over to our food list, and that'll answer that question for us. So if we go over here to our food list, we start scrolling down, you can see the first page says proteins, and it says the following amounts of food all equal 1 cell of protein. 1 cell of protein equals 6 grams of protein. This isn't really super important right now unless you start adding foods that are off this list. This is the big part here. So 1 cell of protein, right, is what all of these foods are. It doesn't matter. Right, just use the measurement that's on the food list, and then compare that to your cells that you need for that meal. So let's take breakfast, for example, right? We'll use breakfast as it's super easy to do. So let's say I want to have eggs, right, for breakfast. So I go down to my meat and poultry. Down the very bottom, you can see egg whites equals 2 eggs. So that means if I want to have egg whites, 2 egg whites equals 1 cell of protein, which means that if I have 4.5 cells of protein, I would need 9 egg whites. That is a lot, yes, but I can always, mix and match, right? So let's say I wanted to do half of that in chicken, right? Let's say, I wanted to make a chicken omelet. So what I can do is, let's say I want to use a couple of my cells for my chicken breast. That's fine. I have chicken breast. 1 ounce raw is 1 cell. So let's say I do, 3 ounces of, let's say 2 ounces, right? 2 ounces of chicken gives me 2 cells. So I have 2.5 cells left in my protein, which means I have 5 egg whites, right? So 2 times 2.5, 5 egg whites. And then my 2 ounces of chicken, and that's basically the start of my omelet. From there, I get a cell of veggies. Right, so I can scroll down to my veggies, and here we go, vegetables. Vegetables are in my green. Let's say I want to put spinach in, right, so I have 1 cell, so I have 5 cups of spinach. That's a lot, guys. I don't need to use all of that, right? I could even do a couple broccoli, dice it up, or some green and red peppers, a cup of those. My fats are already on the same page, right, so I have 1.5 cells of fat, so I could top it with an avocado, right, so I've got 100 grams of an avocado, which is about a medium-sized avocado. is 1 cell. So again, I've got about 1.5, well, 3/4 of an avocado that I can consume. Right, I get no carbohydrates, so I stay off of the orange up here. And that's basically how you can mix and match and make these meals, guys. So each one of these food items, it doesn't matter whether it's in the protein, carbohydrates, fats, or veggies, each one of these listed foods, the measurements next to it equals 1 cell for that macronutrient. And as you can see, it lists out all 5 meals for me. I then go into my training day template and I have the same exact layout, except this time I get 6 meals. And as you can see, meal 3, I get a workout shake, which we'll talk about in a second. I want to jump back over to my food list since I'm on this page. As you can see down the very bottom, I've got this gray block here, which are hybrid foods. Now, what happens here is these foods all count for more than 1 cell of one macronutrient, right? So let's take bacon, for example. I'm really craving bacon. It's breakfast, right? Again, we'll talk about breakfast. And I really want to have bacon. So I can have 2 slices of bacon, which equals 1 cell of protein and half a cell of fat. So if I go back to my rest day template, and I want to have bacon, let's say I have 4 slices, right? Four slices. That's 2 cells of protein. So that means I have 2.5 cells left. And it's a full cell of fat, which means I only have half a cell left. So that's about 1/4 of an avocado that I can also have on top of that. And that's how these hybrid foods work. So you can also have a waffle or a glazed donut. We tried to make it as simple for you guys as possible by doing all this kind of math for you. All right. Now, what happens when you want to use a food that's not on the list? Well, and that's kind of where this whole 1 cell equals 6 grams of protein come in. If you happen to use a food that is not on the list, what you need to do is account for all macronutrients in that food. And I'll give an example of this in a little bit. But basically what you need to do is figure out how many grams of protein or grams of carbohydrates or grams of fat or whatnot you're allowed per meal, and then subtract all of that, subtract the macronutrients from that food that's not on the list from those, right? So looking at my rest day template, looking at my bedtime, right, meal 5, I have 4 cells. So if I go back to my protein, it says 1 cell equals 6 grams of protein. That means I have a total of 24 grams of protein, right? 6 times 4 is 24. So that means that for bedtime, I'm allowed 24 grams of protein. So if I happen to pick a food that's off my list, well then, however many grams of protein it is, I just subtract that from my overall allotment for that meal. I hope that makes sense for you guys. By the way, if even after watching this video you guys have any other questions, do not hesitate to email me at andrew@crossfittradewinds.com. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, or grab me after class and let me know what you guys are curious about. So continuing down, right, so this is all the food list. This lists out, we try to make it as extensive as possible and list out as much as possible for you guys, and make it as simple as possible. And then so for your template moving down, right, we got our hydration requirement. So I need to drink about 82 fluid ounces of water a day, which for me is about 2.5 of my CrossFit TradeWinds water bottles. So it makes it really super easy for me to be able to keep track of that. Down here we have little indicators on how well you guys are hydrated, just to give you guys a little indication on how well you're doing, right? Clear for a prolonged period, maybe overhydration, which also is a bad thing, guys. If you're overhydrated, right, you're too much fluid, it can throw off your electrolyte and your salt balance, which can affect your muscle performance and your endurance. So try not to have super clear pee for too long. You're really looking for a pale yellow for normal hydration. And you guys can look through that on your own. We then go into a sample meal plan. First off, guys, I want you to understand right away that this is a sample meal plan, and it says at the top that this is for a 185-pound male. So this is not going to be necessarily your meal plan. This is definitely one that is just to give you some inspiration to see how it's kind of broken down, how you can kind of piece things together. yours, obviously, your goals, your macronutrients, and your calories are probably going to be different. So you can't use this as a complete template for you guys. But going through, right, meal one, I've got some fat, some casein, and whey protein. For those guys that don't understand why there's casein and whey protein in here, we'll answer that question next in our FAQ section of this template. Meal two, right, grilled chicken breast, olive oil, steamed green beans, whole wheat pasta, and some green dragon sauce from Trader Joe's. Post-workout shake, as you can see here, dextrose powder, whey protein, and Gatorade powder. This is when, this is actually mine. I used to make this by myself, piece everything together. Now, basically what I do is I take a driven post-WOD shake. For me, it's about 3 scoops. 1 scoop is 10 grams of protein and 10 grams of carbs. So my post-workouts are usually somewhere in that range. I'm pretty close to that. So it's super easy for me just to do a post-workout shake from Driven, that post-WOD. So it's super easy. And this post-workout shake, guys, is a great way to get in some extra protein. You know, we'll talk about this again in the FAQ section, but this template, these programs require a lot of protein. So you guys are going to need to start supplementing, or it's highly recommended to supplement. And your post-workout shake is a great opportunity to get that in. Moving through, right, meal 3, very, very similar to meal 2. Meal 4, we swap out the chicken for some steak, swap out the green beans for some spinach. Bedtime shake, right? If you go over to your food list, your proteins, there's a bedtime protein section, and this is an order of effectiveness, meaning that as you go down the list, they're less effective, right? Try to stay at the top of the list. Casein protein being the best, then moving your way down. And then, so the frequently asked questions, guys, right? What foods can I eat? Technically, you can eat anything, right? A lot of the foods are in the list, but we did kind of basically go over real quick how to add something that's not on the list and how to account for it. Try to stick with whole foods, right? The less ingredients, the better. Less is more here. Can you still go out to eat? Of course you can. That's going to basically be the same way you would approach anything else, right? Just try to account for it and try to stay away from those hidden calories. So bread and oil at the beginning of dinner, any sauces or dressings on salads, ask for those on the side so that you can control it. Rice as a side usually has a ton of fat in it because they usually cook it with butter, so maybe steamed vegetables are a better way to go. But as usual, just kind of try to stay in the plan and in that meal for that day. Can you drink alcohol? And the answer is yes, you can drink alcohol, but understand, guys, that alcohol is made of calories, so you need to account for those calories. Also, all the scientific studies show that alcohol has nothing but negative effects on your athletic performance and body composition. So there's no upside to drinking at all. But if you're going to drink, then definitely make sure you account for it. Those calories are probably going to come out of your carbohydrates because that's pretty much what alcohol is consumed of. And then if you're going to drink alcohol, try to make sure you stick with low-calorie alcohols. So more of your clear alcohols, your vodka, your tequila, your white rums, and try to stay away from mixers. So fruit juice, pina colada mix, mudslide, stuff like that. Try to stick with Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, something along those lines, or like a seltzer water that has no calories in it. Supplements. Do you need to take supplements? No, you don't need to take supplements, but as I mentioned, this program has a lot of protein requirements, so you may want to start supplementing with a protein supplement. And like I mentioned, the best 2 ways to do that is to get in a post-workout shake and that bedtime shake. So going back to my meal plan in the beginning, right, there was a 50-50 split of whey and casein. So if you need a protein supplement for a meal replacement, we highly recommend going for a 50-50 split of whey and casein protein. Whey is super fast digesting, and if you use just whey, chances are you're going to be hungry in probably about a half an hour. The casein is a very slow digesting protein, and you want to make sure you feed your muscles throughout the day, so it's really good to go for a half and half mix. And then what other supplements should I be taking? Really, the only other supplement that we recommend is creatine, which, going back to, right, your post-WOD shake, if we talk about post-WOD, then post-WOD has all of your protein, all of your carbohydrates, as well as your creatine in it. So that gets you your creatine throughout the day as well. You should be taking about 5 grams per day. Men and women, it doesn't matter. You don't need to load or backload or anything like that. You can just take 5 grams per day, whether you work out or not, and that's really all you need. If you don't want to take it, that's fine. Don't have to. It is by all means not mandatory. Now, if you overeat on one day, does that mean you should cut back on calories or undereat on the next day? And the answer is absolutely not. You guys need to understand that each day is independent. Not each day is going to be perfect, but you're looking at an overall week, right, and a balance there. If you overeat in one day, just kind of scratch it off, move on to the next. Do not undereat, guys. It's a huge, big deal that I want to talk about. You cannot undereat. When you undereat, your body goes into starvation mode, and it takes all those calories that it consumes, and it tries to store them as its preferred source of long-term energy, which is fat, because it doesn't know when it's going to be fed again, and we want to stay away from that. We're trying to burn as much fat for most of you as possible, or build muscle either way. We don't want to be storing that fat. We're not trying to hibernate or anything like that. So make sure you guys do that. There's another big myth that you're not supposed to eat after like 6 p.m., and that's a complete myth, right? So we actually recommend a bedtime shake. We recommend for bedtime scoop of casein, and then depending upon what your other macros are that you can have, like maybe some almond butter or a banana or something like that. Basically what happens is overnight your body is still working, it's still burning calories just to stay alive. And so in order for it to burn what we want it to burn, right, which is not muscle, we should feed it protein so that it has something to burn and staves off that kind of cannibalistic nature of it to eat muscle at night. And by feeding it protein, it'll do that. Another option, right, you guys have heard us talk about it in the gym a lot, is Halo Top. So just like in fitness, right, variety kind of makes things not boring, switches it up, and makes things interesting. You guys can switch up any meal, anytime. Right? If the bedtime shake's getting boring, you want something a little bit different, you're having a craving, maybe for some ice cream, Halo Top is a great option here. Right, so if we go to Halo Top, they have a ton of different flavors. And as you can see, you're looking at 240 to 280 calories per pint. This is per pint, guys, the entire pint, right? 4 servings, 240 calories. That's almost nothing. And if you look, right, we've got 20 grams of protein. That's huge. It's awesome. Right, that's fantastic. So let's actually use the Halo Top as an example for if I want to eat something that's outside of my template. So we'll go back. We'll go take a look at my training day template. So my bedtime meal, right, within 30 minutes of sleep, I've got 4 cells of protein, 0 cells of veggies, 1 cell of carbohydrates, and 2 cells of fat. So if I go to my food list, I look at my protein, it says that 1 cell equals 6 grams. I've got 4 cells, I've got 24 grams of protein. Carbohydrates, I get 1 cell, it says 1 cell is 25 grams of carbohydrates. Fantastic. And then it says 2 cells of fat. It says 1 cell equals 15 grams of fat, so I've got 30 grams of fat that I can consume. So we go back here. Let's look at our nutritional facts. So it says 4 servings per container. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to eat the whole pint because I've got, a lot of food that I can consume for my bedtime shake, so for my bedtime meal, so I'm going to eat the whole pint. So it's got 60 calories, times 4 is 240 calories. That's what it said it had. Sounds good. Looks good. Total fat, 2 grams, times 4, right? 8 grams of fat. I get 30 grams of fat, so I'm way under in that one. Beautiful. Not a big deal. Not a problem at all. Carbohydrates, it says 13 grams of carbohydrates. So we're looking at a little bit more, right? Because 13 times 4 equals 52 grams of carbohydrates. And according to my template, I only have 25. So I'm about doubling that. Not ideal, guys. Really not ideal, but it's okay because I'm super under in my fat content, right? So I am like almost a third of the fat that I need. So if I double up on my carbohydrates, it's not that big of a deal. Protein, right, 4 times 5 is 20, so I'm a little bit short on my protein. Again, I'm overeating in my carbohydrates in this meal, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. But as you can see, it's super easy to go through this and go through the math and then basically subtract it from my meal. So I'm I've got a ton of fat I could consume. I'm over in carbohydrates, and I've got a little bit of protein I could consume. So it basically balances itself out and almost makes for a perfect meal for me, for my bedtime. So it works great. So that's how you guys can kind of take that and switch it up and pick foods that aren't on the list, and how you'll go about doing that with your templates. So I think that's about it, guys, for going over these templates and explaining how to use them. I know I just threw a lot at you, so if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me, right? Email me, andrew@crossfittradewinds.com. Shoot me a text message, grab me after class or before class, whatever you guys need. I'll be more than happy to walk you through these as much as possible. But I think that's about it for today. Just one last thing, guys. The best results will be sticking with the plan and sticking with the templates. You can switch it up, right? If you need to steal from one meal to put in another, you can do it. It's fine as long as you hit your overall, right? These numbers in the beginning. This is your main focus here, hitting these numbers. This template takes care of the timing for you. It helps dial it in a little bit more and get you better results. But you can switch it around if you need to. This shouldn't be painful to do. You guys should enjoy it. And hopefully you'll be happy with the amount of food you need to eat, because I think most of you guys will actually be quite surprised at how much food I have you eating. So that's it for today, and that's it for this video seminar. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks, guys.